This is Johnny Dosco. Stay tuned for another Scoresheet podcast. Holy Kadelka!
Hello and welcome to another Scoresheet podcast. We're filming this at the end of August, so that means the playoffs are not that far away in Scoresheet. Every year the playoff lineup and the trade deadline are the same day, the start of week 23 of the season, which in 2012 is September 6th. So if you want to make a trade for the 2012 season for the last few weeks, make sure you turn in your trade note by the morning of Thursday the 6th before the first Major League game starts that day. Also, if you want to turn in a playoff-only lineup, meaning a lineup that will just be used for the playoffs, the morning of Thursday the 6th is the deadline for that. You don't have to turn in a playoff-only lineup. If you don't, then whatever lineup you have in effect for week 23, which starts on the 6th, is the same lineup you use for the playoffs. And we'll just move your fifth starter down to the bullpen if he doesn't need to start for you, since a four-man rotation is used in the playoffs. But if you do want to turn in a playoff-only lineup, which most owners that are going to make the postseason do tend to do that, please don't forget to get it in before noon Eastern Time on Thursday the 6th. There is a separate link on your web-based lineup form called Playoff Lineup. So you just click on that Playoff Lineup link, and what will first show up is a copy of the lineup you have entered on the web right now. The first thing you want to do probably is take your fifth starter or rearrange your rotation so there are just four starters. The tricky thing, I guess, for folks is to figure out playing time limits and what stats or player performance will be based on. So we've talked about that in the last 2 or 3 weekly newsletters that come out with the game results. If you get reports by email or postal mail, there's a newsletter with each week's report. Those are also posted on the web. There's also a page on our website that talks about the baseball playoffs. But as far as playing limits, what matters is how much a player plays in the major leagues the last 4 weeks of the regular season. So if you have someone who does not play at all from September 6th on this year, he will not play at all for you in the Scoresheet playoffs. If he plays even close to full-time the last 4 weeks of the season in the majors, then he can play full-time for you in the playoffs. The exact limits are a batter can play up to 40% of the time in the playoffs as he plays in the majors those last 4 weeks. And those limits start over each series. So, for instance, if a guy got 50 at-bats in real life, he could get 20 at-bats for you in your playoff series. For pitchers, the limit's 45%. So roughly, if they get 4 starts in real life in the last 4 weeks of the season, they're going to be able to have 2 pretty much full-length starts for you. But if you have someone who got hurt and just doesn't play at all from September 6th on, then he's not going to play at all for you in the Scoresheet playoffs. Stats are a little different. The stats for players are based on a combination of what they did the first 22 weeks of the season and what they did the last 4 weeks of the season, with the last 4 weeks weighted a little heavier. So if they play the same amount during the year, the stats from the last 4 weeks will count 60%, and the stats from the first 22 weeks will count 40%. If they play more in September than they did earlier in the year, for instance, if you got a rookie call-up, then those September stats would count more. And if you have someone who played full-time in the majors the first 5 months and then he is only playing part-time for his major league team in September, then his earlier season stats will count more. But roughly, you want to take into account what a guy has done so far. And if you've got a player who has played full-time all year so far and has put up really good numbers, you pretty much want to put him in your playoff lineup unless you think for some reason he's just going to have a horrendous September. And of course, if you have some rookies that might get called up in September, then those guys are more of a gamble because you don't have any idea what they're going to do in the majors. They don't have any season-long stats to kind of pad their September stats. So that'll be more of a gamble. On the other hand, if you think you're going to be an underdog in the playoffs, maybe because there's a real powerhouse in your league, you might want to gamble on a couple rookie call-ups and hope that they just have 3 or 4 great weeks and can kind of carry to a playoff victory. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to send us an email or give us a call, but hopefully between this video and the page up on the web, you'll get a pretty good understanding of the Scoresheet playoff system.